Hello, my friends. Waiting is one of the hardest things to do, especially when you feel like you've done everything right. You've prayed, you've planned, you've put in the effort, and yet nothing seems to be moving. The silence can feel deafening, the stillness unsettling. In a world that glorifies speed and immediate results, waiting can feel like you're falling behind. But let me tell you something, waiting is not wasting. Just because you don't see instant results doesn't mean nothing is happening. Growth often takes place in the unseen, in the quiet moments when we think nothing is shifting. The seed buried underground doesn't sprout overnight, but deep beneath the surface, transformation is taking place. Think about nature. When a seed is planted, it doesn't immediately break through the soil. There's a process it must go through, one that requires patience, darkness, and time. First, it takes root, establishing a strong foundation before it ever reaches the light. If you were to judge its progress too soon, you'd think nothing was happening. But what's actually occurring is critical. It's being prepared to sustain the weight of the growth that's coming. The same is true for you. What feels like stillness is actually God working behind the scenes, developing your roots, strengthening your foundation, and ensuring that when your breakthrough comes, you'll be able to sustain it. We tend to associate waiting with inaction, but waiting is often the most active thing you can do. It takes faith to wait. It takes trust to believe that even when you don't see movement, God is still working. Sometimes he's working on the opportunity itself, aligning the right people and circumstances for you. Other times, he's working on you, building your character, stretching your faith, and preparing your heart for what's ahead. Because the truth is, receiving something too soon before you're ready can be just as harmful as not receiving it at all. A blessing given prematurely can feel like a burden. That's why God doesn't just give what we ask for when we ask for it. He gives it when we are truly ready to carry it. Think about the times you were in a hurry to get something only to realize later that you weren't prepared to handle it. Maybe it was a job you wanted, a relationship you prayed for, or a dream you chased, only to find out that the timing wasn't right. Sometimes what we perceive as a delay is actually a divine protection from stepping into something prematurely. When God asks you to wait, it's not because he's forgotten you. It's because he's protecting you, molding you, and setting you up for something greater than you can currently see. What feels like a frustrating pause is actually a season of preparation, positioning you for the right opportunity at the right time. Waiting also teaches us patience, endurance, and trust, qualities that are essential for long-term success and fulfillment. It's in the waiting season that we develop resilience, learning to trust in God's timing rather than our own. When we rush ahead, we often miss important lessons that could shape us into the person we're meant to become. Every delay carries wisdom, every setback holds a lesson, and every moment of waiting is refining us in ways we might not understand until later. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs come after seasons of deep patience and faith. The people who see the greatest results are not always the most talented or the most privileged, but the ones who didn't give up in the waiting. So if you find yourself in a season of waiting, don't let frustration convince you that it's all for nothing. Something is happening. You are being prepared for something far greater than you can imagine. Instead of seeing waiting as wasted time, start seeing it as training ground, a time where God is shaping you, stretching you, and strengthening you for what's next. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and realize that every moment of waiting had a purpose. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared, and when the time is right, what is meant for you will come in a way that you never expected, but exactly when you need it most. It's easy to feel discouraged when things don't happen on our timeline. When we pray, plan, and push forward only to meet delays, it's natural to wonder if we've done something wrong. We ask ourselves, why is this taking so long? Did I miss my opportunity? Is God even listening? In those moments, doubt can creep in, making us feel like delays are punishments, like we're being held back while everyone else is moving forward. But that's not the truth. Delay is not punishment, it's preparation. When God asks you to wait, it's not to frustrate you or make you suffer. It's because he's preparing you for what's ahead, making sure you're fully equipped to handle the blessing he has in store. The waiting isn't meant to break you, it's meant to build you. We often see delays as obstacles, but what if they're actually opportunities? Opportunities to grow, to learn, to develop the skills and mindset necessary for the next season of our lives. Think about an athlete training for a big game. They don't just jump straight into the competition. They spend months, even years in preparation, strengthening their body, refining their technique, and sharpening their mental focus. The training is tough, but it's necessary because stepping into the game unprepared would only lead to failure. The same is true for life. When things don't happen right away, it's not because you're being punished, it's because you're being prepared. God knows what's coming, and he's making sure you have the strength, wisdom, and resilience to handle it. There are countless stories of people who experienced long seasons of delay before stepping into their purpose. Joseph in the Bible had dreams of greatness, but before he could reach them, he was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. It would have been easy for him to believe that God had abandoned him. But in reality, every delay was a part of his preparation. The hardships he faced developed his leadership, his character, and his ability to trust in God's timing. When his breakthrough finally came, he was not only ready, he was positioned to step into a place of influence and purpose. What looked like punishment was actually preparation for something far greater than he could have imagined. Sometimes we're not just being prepared for the blessing, we're also being protected from something that isn't right for us. Have you ever looked back on a situation and realized that what you once wanted so desperately wouldn't have actually been good for you? Maybe it was a relationship that didn't work out, a job you didn't get, or an opportunity that slipped away. At the time, it felt like rejection, but in hindsight, you see it was actually redirect. God's delays are often his way of keeping us from stepping into something prematurely before we're ready or before it's truly meant for us. His timing isn't just about giving us what we want, it's about aligning us with what's best. Waiting is rarely easy, but it is necessary. It teaches us patience, strengthens our faith, and deepens our trust in God's plan. If everything came to us the moment we asked for it, we wouldn't develop the endurance or wisdom needed to sustain it. Success that comes too quickly can crumble just as fast. That's why God sometimes slows things down, not to discourage us, but to ensure that when our moment arrives, we'll be ready to embrace it fully. The waiting season is where we build the character, discipline, and resilience needed to carry the blessings that are coming. It's where we learn that true faith isn't just about believing for something. It's about trusting in God's process, even when we don't understand it. So if you're in a season of delay, don't mistake it for denial. Just because it's taking time doesn't mean it's not happening. You are not forgotten. You are not being punished. You are being prepared for something far greater than you can imagine. Instead of fighting the wait, embrace it. Lean into it. Trust that the same God who gave you the vision will bring it to pass at the right time, in the right way, and when you are truly ready to receive it. What is meant for you is already set in motion. Keep the faith, keep growing, and know that when the moment comes, you'll step into it with the confidence and strength of someone who is prepared, not punished. Faith is easy when things are clear, when you can see the path ahead, when doors are opening, and when prayers are being answered. Trusting God feels natural. But what about when nothing makes sense? What about when you're surrounded by uncertainty, waiting for clarity that never seems to come? That's when faith is truly tested. Trusting in the dark means holding on even when you don't understand, believing even when there's no visible reason to, and choosing hope when doubt is knocking at your door. It's in the seasons of uncertainty that your faith grows the most. Not when things are easy, but when you have to trust without proof, without signs, without certainty. That's real faith. Speed does not equal success, and slowness does not mean failure. Some of the most meaningful, long-lasting things in life take time. Think about a tree. It doesn't grow overnight. It takes years to develop strong roots before it ever stands tall. The deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. The same applies to your life. If you rush the process, you risk building something that can't withstand the storms that will inevitably come. Fast success is often fragile, but slow, steady growth creates a foundation that lasts. What's the point of getting somewhere quickly if you're not strong enough to stay there? The things that matter, character, wisdom, resilience, are built over time, not in a hurry. Comparison makes us believe that speed is everything, but the truth is, no two journeys are the same. Some people may reach their goals quickly, while others take the long road. Neither path is wrong. Think about the difference between a sprinter and a marathon runner. The sprinter moves fast, but only for a short distance. The marathon runner paces themselves because they know they have a long way to go. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. And if you spend all your time trying to keep up with others instead of running your own race, you'll burn out before you ever reach your destination. Just because someone else is moving faster doesn't mean they are more successful. And just because your journey is taking longer doesn't mean you're not making progress. The danger of believing that speed equals worth is that it makes us feel like rest is failure. We feel guilty for slowing down, for taking time to heal, for pausing to reassess our direction. But rest is not the enemy of progress. It is a necessary part of growth. Even the most powerful athletes understand the importance of recovery. Pushing too hard without rest leads to exhaustion, injury, and burnout. The same is true in life. If you're constantly running at full speed without allowing yourself the grace to pause, reflect, and recharge, you'll eventually crash. Slowing down doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're making sure you have the strength to keep going. The world measures success by how quickly we achieve things, but God measures success by who we become in the process. Your purpose is not tied to how fast you get there. It's about becoming the person who is ready to step into the calling that is meant for you. Sometimes the delay is necessary because there is growth that needs to happen first. There is wisdom to be gained, experiences to be had, lessons to be learned. And when the time is right, when you have been prepared, what is meant for you will come in a way that is sustainable, meaningful, and lasting. You don't need to rush to prove your worth. You are already enough right now, exactly where you are. So take the pressure off yourself. Stop measuring your progress by someone else's timeline. You are not late. You are not falling behind. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. Trust that the process is unfolding as it should, and know that your worth has never been and will never be defined by how fast you move. The only thing that matters is that you keep going at your own pace, in your own way, becoming the person you were always meant to be. Rejection is painful. There's no way around it. Whether it's a job you didn't get, a relationship that ended, an opportunity that slipped through your fingers, or a door that shut when you thought it was meant to open, rejection stings. It can make you feel like you're not good enough, like you're being left behind while everyone else moves forward. In those moments, it's easy to question everything. Why did this happen? What did I do wrong? Will I ever get my chance? But here's what you need to know. Rejection is not the end of your story. It's not a sign that you're unworthy or forgotten. Rejection is often God's way of redirecting you to something better, something you wouldn't have found if you had stayed where you were. What feels like a loss is actually a divine setup for something greater. Think about the times in your life when you were desperate for something to work out, only to realize later that it wasn't meant for you. Maybe it was a job you thought was perfect, but in hindsight, you see it would have drained you. Maybe it was a relationship you fought to hold on to, but looking back, you realize it was never truly right for you. At the time, the rejection felt like a punishment, but later you saw it was protection. Sometimes we are so focused on what we want that we don't see the bigger picture, God's picture. He sees what we cannot. He knows where we are headed. And when he allows rejection, it's because he knows that what we are chasing is not in alignment with our purpose. It's not rejection, it's redirect. We often associate rejection with failure, but the most successful people in history have all faced rejection before stepping into their destiny. Think about people like Oprah Winfrey, who was fired from her first television job, or Steve Jobs, who was removed from his own company before making a comeback that changed the world. If they had let rejection define them, they would have never reached their full potential. Their setbacks were actually setups for something greater. The same applies to you. The rejection you're facing right now isn't the end. It's a shift, a detour, leading you toward a better opportunity, a greater purpose, and a future that aligns with who you are truly meant to be. One of the biggest lies we believe about rejection is that it means we are not enough. But rejection is rarely about worth. It's about direction. Just because someone didn't choose you, just because a company didn't hire you, just because a dream didn't unfold the way you imagined, does not mean you are not capable, talented, or deserving. It simply means that particular path was not yours. And when a door closes, it's because there is another one waiting to be opened, one that is better suited for you, one that will bring you joy, fulfillment, and peace. But in order to reach that door, you have to be willing to let go of what wasn't meant for you. Holding on to rejection with bitterness will only keep you stuck. Trusting that redirection is at work will set you free. The challenge in dealing with rejection is learning to trust before you see the bigger picture. It's easy to have faith once everything makes sense, but real faith is believing that something better is coming, even when you don't have proof. It's trusting that if something didn't work out, it's because it wasn't part of your story. Not because you're unworthy, but because God has something different, something greater, something you can't see yet. Every time you face rejection, you have a choice. You can let it define you, or you can let it refine you. You can dwell on the disappointment, or you can use it as fuel to move forward. You can see it as a roadblock, or you can see it as a sign pointing you toward a better path. So the next time you face rejection, don't let it break you. Don't let it convince you that you're not enough. Instead, remind yourself, this is redirection. This is protection. This is preparation. Something better is ahead. A door is closing because another one is about to open. What is meant for you will not pass you by. Keep going, keep believing, and trust that every no is leading you closer to the right yes. No one enjoys a battle when you're in the middle of one. Whether it's a personal struggle, a season of uncertainty, a loss, or a challenge that feels impossible to overcome, it's easy to feel like you're being crushed under the weight of it all. You may wonder, why is this happening to me? Why is life so hard? Why does it feel like every step forward comes with resistance? But here's the truth. Battles are not meant to break you. They are meant to strengthen you. The very struggles that make you feel weak are actually building a resilience within you that you didn't even know you had. Strength isn't developed in comfort. It's developed in the fire of adversity. Think about a sword being forged. The metal is heated to extreme temperatures, hammered, shaped, and refined. The process is intense, and if the sword had feelings, it would probably scream from the pressure. But without that process, it would remain weak, unshaped, and unable to fulfill its purpose. The same is true for you. The challenges you are facing may feel overwhelming, but they are refining you. They are shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the future that awaits you. You are not being destroyed, you are being developed. Every hardship, every setback, every battle you endure is equipping you with the strength you will need for the victories ahead. It's natural to wish for an easy life, to hope for a path with no obstacles. But think about this. If you never face resistance, how would you ever grow? If everything came easily, how would you build perseverance, courage, or faith? Muscles only grow when they are challenged, when they are pushed beyond their limits. The same applies to your character. The struggles you face are not there to defeat you. They are there to develop qualities within you that ease and comfort never could. If you are in a battle, it means you are being prepared for something greater. The very thing that feels like it's trying to take you down is actually setting you up for your next level. When we look at history, the people who made the biggest impact were not those who had an easy road. They were the ones who overcame the greatest battles. Think about great leaders, visionaries, and even biblical figures. Their stories were filled with trials, opposition, and moments where giving up seemed like the only option. But they didn't quit. They fought through the hardships, and in the process, they became who they were meant to be. The battle you are facing right now is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are being strengthened. It is proof that your story is still unfolding, that your purpose is still in motion, and that you have more inside of you than you ever realized. The hardest part of the battle is believing that it serves a purpose when you're still in the middle of it. It's easy to look back and see how past struggles shaped you, but when you're currently in the fight, it's difficult to see anything but pain. That's where faith comes in. Faith is believing that this battle is not pointless. Faith is trusting that even though you feel exhausted, even though you feel like giving up, you are being molded into something stronger. Every battle leaves you with something: wisdom, experience, perseverance, or a deeper trust in God's plan. And sometimes the strength you gain isn't just for you, it's for someone else who will need your story to inspire them when they face their own battles.